Ancestrylands, ancestrylands.com. You can see we're on the road with Uncle Phil. Folks, today is Friday, April 7th, 2023. Right now, I come to you folks with talking about small businesses. But first, I want to make sure we give a shout out to our sponsors, everyhomelife.com. Every Home Life, where you can go and find amazing products for your home care needs, anything you need. If you're moving into an apartment, hell, if you're kicking your girl out of your apartment and letting her get her new apartment, give her a nice parting gift. And go to everyhomelife.com and buy something for her to let her know, hey, it's over. And if you got a man that ain't worth ish, maybe you can give him a gift, a parting gift from everyhomelife.com, and let him know to get his funky sorry behind up out of your place and start a life over. Any which way, folks, our link will be in the description below to everyhomelife.com, where you can actually get up to 15% off on your first purchase. So go to everyhomelife.com. Link will be in the description section, and there are sponsors. Thank you so much, everyhomelife.com. You've seen me, I bought products from them before. Moving on to our main thing. I'm going to get right to the gist of it, folks. Today, last night I do my work as a nurse, and one of the things I'm fascinated about is that there are many nurses, many people who are doing small business. They are doing photography, they're doing fashion, they're doing everything from hair, nails, even medical specialties. And one of the things I'm fascinated about is the amount of overthinking people do. And I'm going to talk about 5 things you should do when you are starting a business and what to avoid. One of the first things you should do when starting a business, the first immediate thing is to have a plan. All right. When I say have a plan, is to find out what your passions are when you're starting a business. A lot of times, people tend to get stuck in decision, or procrastination, or overthinking it. There are certain things you're naturally good at, certain things you like to talk about. You can be a video gamer, you can be a painter, you can draw. One of the guys at our hospital, he does tagging. And when he writes your names up on the boards, you can barely read what the hell he's written because he tags everything. And I told him, I said, well, why you like tagging? Why don't you do a YouTube channel on how to tag, how to draw a tag? When you have a small business, the first thing you need to do is start. A lot of times, what you'll get is people feedback, and you want everything to be right and perfect. I knew one nurse, very gifted and talented nurse. The problem, it's been a year now since I wanted to bring her into my business, and she put another person into the business, one of her friends. We brought her on, and she worked with us for a number of months. And I told her, I said, you're still stuck in trying to think about what is the best plan. I want it to be perfect. I don't want to do that. A year and a half has gone by since I first approached her about joining in and taking some aspects onto my business. Well, that was 1,000 subscribers ago. I'm sorry, 1,000 subscribers at the time. We're now up to almost 55,000 subscribers. And in that time, now that I've grown, she had a lot of time to figure out something that she would have a passion in. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is start the process. Stop thinking about it. Start putting some action into play. You may say, well, I still don't know. I spent some time thinking about what I want to do, and I still don't have an idea. And I'll say, well, the next best thing you can do, if you don't still have an idea on what to do better for your own business, is to align with someone who has a business, such as myself, that you can learn some of the basic business ideas or tools that you need to run a business. No matter what you do, you will still have to know how to do certain things like accounting, starting an LLC, how to get business checking accounts. And a lot of times you can go to YouTube for that, but most of these nurses and people that know, there's someone that that already has a business up and running. You want to be find a person that can mentor you or give you good business consultation, that actually has a business that you can see is successful. When I say what is successful, and that will be this number two thing, is if start your business. If you have business ideas, put them in play. That's number one. Number two is find a mentor. Find someone who can give you good business etiquette, good business models, such as getting an EIN number. Who do they use? What's the benefit? Someone that's done it for a few years, that you can see their work, you can see their results. Certain things like getting a business checking account, what banks they use. Another thing, like, a lot of people aren't talking about that I'm talking about is getting a DUNS number, getting business credit. How did you do that? A lot of times, you'll see stuff on Instagram, these reels, these short clips that give you all the little tidbits of information that don't give you any details, folks. What I'm talking about is that in order to get a business credit card, you got to show that you actually are making some income. So what you can't do any of that if you don't start. A lot of times you wouldn't even need to do an EIN or getting any business kind of credit. The first thing you need to do is start actually building content or even selling your product, figuring out how to get your product into customers' hands. All right. And then the second part is finding a good mentor that can actually give you some actionable steps of things that you need to do to get done. That's still kind of making a plan, but that's called action items. Create action items that go along with your plan. I'll tell you one thing that I can relate this to. My daughter had a science project, and I went to the science project last week at her school. And one of the things that her teacher taught me was that we did project planning. Every week, I would tell my daughter, write down four things that you want to, or write down an outline of what you want to study, what you're going over, and then give yourself some short-term goals, what you're going to do every day to get one step closer to getting more of that project done. Then find out what your week goal is. What do you want to have done by the end of the week? What is the goal? What are the short daily goals supposed to build up to? That's writing out your plan and getting some action items. Then you would set your goals for that week. So each day you got to do, read an item, you got to do some research, you got to contact some clientels. If you're doing clothes, you got to contact some people that make fabrics. You got to make sure that each day you're hitting some action items to build over time. It can be one thing a day, but one thing a day in a week is seven more things you would have got done instead of waiting for the seventh day to get only one thing done. So that's the third thing is one, starting your business out by putting a plan together. When I say putting a plan together, it's, hey, I have this idea, so now we got to do some research. Okay, here's the research I've got to do. I also want to look for a mentor, someone who's doing some form of business if I do not have a business idea right away. And that's sometimes the resistance to that is that you got to realize that your greatest investment in doing this with a mentor is learning the things on how to run a business. A lot of times, you're going to be first working in your business and you're going to be working in your business, not on your business. Those are two different concepts. When you're working in your business, you're working in your business like you are actually an employee. Your first employee is going to be yourself. You got to understand that no one is going to help you build a business. If you're looking for a business to be up and running, you're going to have to put a lot of money down. And, again, the mindset of thinking that you're going to quit your day job and just go and become even a content creator. Uh, Being a content creator, you're going to have to work every day. I've got to post, I've got to do live streams Monday through Friday. I've got to put weekend content out. I might have to do a quick live because there's a new topic to talk about. If you're doing content creation, it's still going to be another job. You have to put the effort in, which is the third thing. You've got to put the work in play every day towards your goals. Having a plan is great. Having a mentor is great. Having action items is great, but you got to be willing to do the work. If you're not willing to do the work, none of the other things matter. You could have the greatest teacher in the world. You could have Confucius. You could have Mahatma Gandhi. They could resurrect Dr. Martin Luther King. It doesn't matter who it is. You could have Jesus come back and sit side by side. Nothing will happen if you don't take the steps towards, actually working on building your business. Consistency is going to outperform any short-term success that you can have. You have to play the long game. When I say that, that's all one step, the fourth step, which is you got to put in the work. Whatever that means, you got to hustle, you got to grind. You're going to have to do it when you're tired, don't want to do it, feel ill, feel sick. You're going to have to find some way to get that content out, to get that product to your clients. and it's going to be built brick by brick, slowly and surely. Sorry, I'm always those S's. I tell you, they get me all the time. Slowly and surely. And the last thing is that you gotta start. Again, I'm gonna put number 1 and number 5 are almost the same. You have to start. You Most of the time, people think right now I'm filming. When I do my road stuff, I used to do it with just my cell phone. Now I have a light, a little mount, a little gimbal, and a little microphone that I can do my content out of. That's a little bit more advanced. But right now, my earlier videos, when you saw me walking around, filming stuff on people's yards and talking about, how to utilize small yard space, that was just done with my cell phone. You want to start getting into the habit of creating and doing. You will get perfect and refined later. I remember my dad when I started doing live streams. My dad was like, "Oh, you need to wait to get a studio. You need to do this," and I love my dad for it. He's always thinking of the most professional way. And again, by the time I do that, the thousands of dollars that I would have to invest in getting the perfect studio up, I could have dedicated my energy towards creating content. Now, I'm not saying you're a content creator, but again, like every home life, a lot of times just starting to even work with a sponsor, like, they're working with me, they're getting exposure. He's like, oh, 4 people came to the website. It's just slowly every day that the sponsors coming, and I'm talking about their website. People are going and visiting their website, seeing what they have, being repeat customers. You got to build it slowly, but a lot of times you can't wait until you have the perfect website, the most professional looking website. You just need to put a website up there to have products so people can buy, to get yourself some capital so you can start reinvesting into your business. Now, those are the 5 things you should do. I'm going to talk about some of the things you shouldn't do. First thing, do not procrastinate. You will make mistakes. Every video will not be perfect. I hope one day to have a going live on the road with Uncle Phil that looks way different than it is right now. If you look at any fan, Mr. Beast, anyone that's done great content that you might follow now, if you go back and look to them years ago or whenever they first started creating content, the first part of their content does not look as prim professional as it does now. Those are the people that put in the work to really build up their brand. Okay, that's the first thing, is that just don't procrastinate, don't overthink it. Okay, it's literally the opposite of step one on the other side, which is creating a plan. You get so far into it needs to be you're in the dream phase. Whenever you see yourself doing this, it needs to be you're looking up and not writing down. You're procrastinating, you're overthinking it. You have to find more reasons to delay, to hold back. If you have money problems, then you need to work in your primary job to fund your business plan. I was talking with a nurse this morning, and I told her, it's like, I'm not retiring from nursing early, meaning I'm not going to stop doing this just because I became successful in my land business. This is an and, not an or. You don't want to drop that until you probably have made, I would say, in most cases, that you need to be making about 300,000. That's your income. Your income in your business needs to be about 300,000 for at least 5 to 7 years. The reason why I say that, and I'll explain that, is that you never want to leave your primary job until you've gotten through 5 to 7 years of making at least 250,000 or more. I'm going to say 300,000 because of inflation, and I'll explain why. Is that 5 years ago, the economy, the nation was much different. Interest rates were much lower, and in 5 years ago to now, we've had the pandemic, we've had inflation, you've had a whole lot of things. You need to go through a good period and a turbulent period like we are now, where I'm looking and learning things from my business that I otherwise would not know if I stayed on the road to being successful. You need to wait until in order to quit your primary job and become full time in your business, you need to be doing it for about 5 to 7 years. Okay, you use your primary job to fund. You work overtime, you work hard, and you're literally working almost 2 full time jobs to fund your business. All right. Do not go out there and get a business loan and you have not even gotten one product sold. It's the worst thing People do. When I started and bought my first piece of property, it was because I worked overtime to fund my business from me working overtime. That I would literally worked in the hospital to make more money to fund my business, and I still paid. My everything I was making before I worked overtime went to the house. All the overtime went to funding my business, and that was learning and getting good mentorship, learning the process, and getting the first property. I think I started in February, learning how to get the business started. By March, I had already owned a property. By the end of March, I had owned two properties. Okay, that's the actionable steps. Marketing a property, it took me a few more months to where I first got my first property under contract. I got the first two under contract in June. So in 4 months, I went from learning how to own land to having two properties under contract. And both that's how quick and can start the process. Then the next month it was two more properties, three more properties. Then I started learning how to market. And my first pictures of land, they're nothing like they are now. This was just basic Google Map photos with a square and some numbers up there. It looked like a kid could draw it. And again, you do not need to be perfect. That's number two. You don't need to be perfect in order to get started. Okay. Your brand, your products will improve. If anything, the most loyal customers will love and buy and be loyal customers to your brand when they see your improvement and your growth. I mean, my father always talks about, man, I remember when you had your first property. I remember when you had this property. I remember when you had only 10 properties. Now you're up to 100 properties. Now you got a YouTube channel. When you start seeing a person's growth, people follow someone who has a long trail of work. People believe in something that has a long body of work. If you're just worried about you need to come in with $1,000 studio, you need to come in with lavalier mics or Shure mics, and you need to do it this way, you're going to be doing a whole lot of spending before you get a whole lot of production and income coming in. So again, that's one, is don't procrastinate. Two, the other thing is, again, is that don't procrastinate, don't overthink it, and do not take a loan. Work, stay in your first job or whatever job you're doing, work overtime and build that capital in your business from your work. Do not quit unless you have 5 to 7 years of making at least over 250,000. If you make 249,000, that doesn't count. You need 5 to 7 straight years of making over 300,000, minimum 250, okay? And that just means that the reason why is that your business is going to be able to take the highs and lows of the world. And I mean, 7 years. Well, we had 2008, then we had the pandemic in 2012. I'm sorry, 2020. So 12 years or so, 7 years, you would have built up enough staying power, enough roots. And again, when a storm comes, the deeper the roots, the solid the foundation, the more the building can withstand. So think like that. Don't sit there and go in and start getting all these funny money loans or looking for advanced lines of credit. Fund your business yourself. Don't make that mistake of going out here and building up mass credit for a product that hasn't been proven. The best thing you can do is work overtime and spend your money and figure out what works. The other part is that number three, do not abdicate and do not confuse delegation with abdication. When you start in your business, you need to be 100% hands on working in your business. You're not a corporation. This is for small businesses. This is not for someone like, the Trumps who've had hundreds of thousands of dollars of business money passed down. Yeah, unless you're starting with $1 million from a relative that died just for you to fund business, you're more than likely going to be starting where I'm at. You're going to be using your income to fund your business. Okay. So again, that's the whole point. You're going to have to be 100% invested in working in your business. All right. You're going to have to spend all that time building your business day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour in your free time, which means if you are single, You're going to have to forego going to the club sometimes. Take some time out to invest in yourself. It will pay off. The club days will come. Trust me. They're not closing. They've been there before you were born. They're going to be there after you die. The clubs aren't going anywhere. All right. Your opportunity is. Don't waste time trying to have a little short-term fun. You got to start building for yourself. All right. So those are three things. The fourth thing I'm going to talk about is that you got to understand and put yourself in the mindset that working in your business is going to require double the effort of you having a job. Okay. You're going to be working 50, 60, 70 hours in your business. And you have to expect that if you're doing it right because you're spending your time investing into yourself and the future of you having a better life. Okay. You've done it in college trying to get your degree. You've done it in whatever job when you worked overtime. The only difference is when you go to work and you get done with those 8, 16, 12, 10 hours, whatever you work, after you're done, once you get paid, it no longer generates anything else. It doesn't do anything for you. I talked to a person that does photography, and I said, well, I don't, I'm a one man army. I'm a solopreneur. I got that. But again, why are you not building clients or people to work for you? Why I want things to be perfect, the quality of work. Yeah, I got it. But you can give someone else the lower level of jobs to be able to make income. Your time, you have to be able to multiply your time in order to multiply your income. You have to have people doing projects for you. You cannot be the only one person working in your business for a long period of time. First year, I would say, yeah, that's going to help. Unless you have services like you have to have a manufacturer if you're doing clothing. Obviously, you're going to need to outsource certain things, but the intricacies of your business, sale of goods, accounts receivable, expenses, how to set that all up and organize that and put that into, let's say, a QuickBooks account. I used a Google Drive for my first initial one until I had a CPA, until I started making a consistent income. But by that time, I had already had an organized setup on how to track money coming in, money coming out, and doing invoicing. I did all my invoicing, I did all my billing myself, I did all my marketing myself. And the point of doing that is don't abdicate, because once you do, you don't know how to do these functions of your business because you've delegated them away. When I started the land business, many of the new land investors, they were quick to find someone to work for them. They didn't even know how to sell a property themselves. How can you mentor or teach someone to sell a property if you don't know how to do it yourself? That's abdicating. Delegating is when you become past the understanding, past the learning, to the mastery point, to you're an expert on teaching how to market and sell a product. When you know how to do it, when you failed enough, when you've gotten rejection from enough customers, when you've gotten past no's, when you turn no's into yes, and when you turn into creating a certain small demand or desire for your product, you now can teach it to someone else because you've learned how to handle objections. You've learned how to get past people who are just window shopping. You've learned how to connect with your customers and speak the language. And it gives your employees or assistants or consultants the ability to have confidence in you, even through harder economic times. And again, what you want to be able to do, which is why I say 5 to 7 years, is because your business is going to go through the downturn like we are right now. Real estate's taking a hit. People aren't buying properties. We got a lot of people interested, but a lot of people are not jumping to buy a property like it's going out of style because people are cash strapped. But again, I have three three people posting, and I have my executive man. None of my business has stopped. We're still marketing. We're still working on social media. We're still putting out content. We may not be working in overdrive like we are, but I'm still able to pay my team because for the last 4 years, no, what is it? It's been, yeah, 5 years in this business. I've been able to have pure profit for staying power. My roots are deep enough to be able to weather this storm, and we've contracted just slightly, but that hasn't caused anybody to be laid off. We just put people in the most efficient positions so that way we wouldn't be having a lot of waste. That's a smart thing to do when you're a small business. And the last thing I'm going to say about one of the mistakes you don't want to make in a business is that you can't be afraid of failing. When I say you can't be afraid of failing, is that when I've got on the phone with clients or people who wanted to interested in buying property, the first person I tried to sell something to, very interested, the wife was very interested, the husband cursed me out. And the reason why was that he didn't think I was a real person. Despite me doing a duo call or FaceTime call, whatever you want to call it, video call, showing them the deeds, showing them everything I could to prove that I was who I was, I still had my first experience of the hardships of people understanding that a black man can own property and sell it. And I went through that and it toughened my skin. And I've learned how to get through no's. And sometimes I've had the amazement of having a person who said no, who turned around and said yeah. Or even someone who's come way later on to come back and buy a property that said no, they've been interested. I still get people who are interested in properties that I literally like. I won't sell to them and they'll come back to me and I'm like, okay, this person's going to waste my time again, but they're still interested in watching my content. So they're going to give me attention some way somehow, but again, I've learned that because of dealing with people. So when I deal with my team, I can train them on, hey, this is what you need to do to qualify a lead. Here's what you need to do to, this is how we screen out leads that don't qualify. I don't have to rely on a trained salesperson to be able to do that because I learned through my experience. I wasn't afraid to fail or to be rejected or say no. I got up and got my hands dirty. I was down in the trenches in my business, building out the foundation, which I now have a business house to stand on. So again, folks, I'm just going to give you those quick hits. Those are really, really tight knit things, and I think you have to first go back and assess whether you're willing to put in the work to get the outcomes for having a real business. Having a business is a wonderful thing. I've learned so much now in just having conversation with other people who have business interests, business ideas. You can bring more value to people by just you being an average or successful business person. Successful does not mean you need to be Grant Cardone. You don't need to be Vera Wang. You don't need to be Oprah in order to be successful because a lot of times those people are out of our reach. You know, nurses that know me and see I have a channel with almost 55,000 subscribers, that's the closest they're going to get to someone who's successful in their realm. That person can do a lot more to teach them how to run, start, or do a business or even a YouTube channel than Grant Cardone does because I'm in proximity of them. So again, you have great people all around you that are doing things. You've just got to find the value that you can offer them. And you'll find that a lot of people will support you because they're in your proximity. There's great things to do with sponsoring events. You got to get connected. But again, you've got to be okay with starting. You got to be okay with people saying no. You got to be able to hear no and put a smile on your face and tell people to have a good day. I've had people that bought another property, not from me, from another land investor, and I thought I had them, I got them. And I still wished them, hey, I wish you the best. I'm glad you're a landowner. Maybe one day I'll get your business later. Keep my contact information. You got to be understanding that that's part of learning. If you passed every test, how would you appreciate when you've had to work hard and got and almost, you think about it, the things you talk about in life are the things that you almost failed at. Your things that you overcame. They're the ones that give you the greatest emotion, greatest talking points, greatest inspiration, are the times where you've had to overcome something. Starting a business is not no different. The only difference is you're mentally putting more roadblocks, more walls than there needs to be. Half the people are not successful because they don't even start. The other half is because they're not even consistent. And when you're consistent, you will get consistently better. That's the key. So, folks, I hope you learned a little bit. I hope you're on the road with Uncle Phil, on the road. I still got I'm switching up the caps right now, but one of the things I keep talking about is your brand, walking around with your brand. I was on the airplane. I always wear my shirts when I'm flying because I'm flying for business. And one of the ladies asked me, said, "What is Ancestry Lands? I wanted to ask you." I walked by. She was going to the bathroom. I said, she stopped me before she was going to the bathroom, not when she came back, because I couldn't verify if she washed her hands. But again, she said, "What is Ancestry Lands?" And I had a 2 minute conversation with her about what my company is and what I do and where to find me on my social media. She subscribed to the channel. That's just one subscriber because I was wearing my brand on the airplane, which I do all the time. I wear it all the time so people can see it. I don't know who's watching. I never know. I walked in, I ran into Charles Barkley at the Philadelphia airport one time. I was not wearing my shirt. Imagine if he had asked me. Imagine if I got a picture with him. But I wasn't thinking like a business owner at that time about branding. This was last year, during the pandemic. But any which way, just thoughts and tips and tricks, and not really tricks, but helpful hints on how to do it. Folks, if you're ever needing some help with business ideas, I do business consultations. This is not, it's just talking about if you need resources or help, things like that. Please reach out to me, message me. You can find me on Facebook, Ancestry Lands on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're everywhere. Just type in Ancestry Lands and you'll find me. Message us and we can sit down and do a consultation with you. They're not for free, but it is affordable. And we're going to help you walk through the steps of your business. And again, the first thing you got to do is start. All right. I hope you've been educated, enlightened, entertained. You're on the road with Uncle Phil, folks. Make sure you leave a like and comment and share. My job is to produce the content. Your job is to comment on the content. Make a comment, folks, and don't forget about our sponsors, everyhomelife.com. Go and find some amazing products. Like, share, folks, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Why not? It's perfect. Do it. All right. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. You can always donate to the show. Our Cash App and Venmos in the description section, along with our sponsors. Take care and have a wonderful weekend, folks. Happy Easter. If you celebrate, If not, eat some chocolate anyway. Take care, folks. Ancestry Lands, I'm out.